Why did Sri Lanka go bankrupt? Do you really want to know the answer to that question? Well, soon you might be able to, because Parliament has appointed a special select committee to find out just that. Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Let's start off by taking a look at your headlines for tonight.
Special Parliament Select Committee chaired by SLPP General Secretary to find out why Sri Lanka went bankrupt. 9 out of the 14 members from the SLPP. Opposition leader rejects President's invitation.
ඔය ඉතින් මම දන්නවා ජනාධිපති වෙන්න 2019 කොහොමද ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂත් එක්ක එක්ක වෙලා මට උදව් කරපු ආකාරය මම හොඳින් දන්නවා.
Debate on the anti-corruption bill postponed. Why bring new laws to curb corruption when even the existing laws are not enforced? Anura Kumara questions in Parliament. No Samurdhi, no Aswasuma, no disability benefits. Protests on the streets continue. Give the general public the benefit of the reduction in policy interest rates. Governor of the Central Bank requests the financial sector. Natasha Surya released on bail.
Taking a look at those stories in detail. The enactment of the AntiCorruption Act, which is one of the main conditions in the Extended Fund Facility Program with the International Monetary Fund, was further delayed today.
The bill was taken up for debate in Parliament for the second day today, and the government faction proposed to further discuss amendments and approve the bill on the 19th of July.
Now, of course, the opposition vehemently objected to this move. However, following which the bill was approved in the second reading, but the third reading was postponed to the 19th of July.
We need to make amendments on 28 pages on the first proposal. We have several amendments for the second proposal which is related to that. Considering all this, we will bring this act to a satisfactory level with all the amendments by the second day of the next parliamentary session, which is Wednesday, the 19th, to approve these provisions. We are against this. Pass this today and bring the amendments later. This must be amended today, so approve it and bring amendments later. We know that thieves won't catch thieves, but we didn't know they will not pass the act to nab the thieves. I would like to ask Vijayadasa Rajapaksa as to if this act is being postponed because of the amendments. The draft bill was sent to the Supreme Court and it was amended 29 times. The opposition studied it and presented 53 amendments. We think there is another reason that is being postponed for a second time. We heard that they are checking all the cases at the Bribery Commission. We believe they are delaying it to close those cases. We suspect this is a second proposal by the Crow. Is this the supremacy of the Crow or the country's law? Is it Parliament's sovereignty or the Crow's sovereignty? This is clear. The Justice Minister's conscience knows this is the Crow's influence. Can the Justice Minister bring the amendments and pass the act today or not? He is not talking. The leader of the House is talking, but he is not the one who brought this act. I know the Justice Minister wants to pass this act today. So what is the issue? This is a mystery. It took over 10 months for us to formulate this act, including the amendments. The effort that I put into this act is equal to the effort I would usually put into 100 acts. It was more effort than I put into the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. I don't know the reason as to why this is being delayed. That is all I have to say. The truth is out. The subject minister clearly said he has no reason to delay it. So why delay it?
No division.
I agree. I will postpone it till the 19th for amendments. I postpone to adjourn Parliament till the 7th of July.
ජූලි මාස 7 වෙනි සිකුරාදා පූර්ව භාග 9:30 දක්වා කල්තැබිය යුතුයි යෝජනා කරනවා.
A Parliament Select Committee chaired by General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna MP Sagara Karyawasam was appointed to look into factors that led to Sri Lanka's bankruptcy.
Now, according to the Speaker of Parliament Mahindayapa Abewardhana, 9 of the 14 members of the committee that was appointed to look into why Sri Lanka went bankrupt are from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
The committee was named the Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government and to report to Parliament and submit its proposals and recommendations in this regard. The committee chaired by General Secretary of the SLPP, Attorney Sagara Karyawasam, also includes SLPP MPs Mahindananda Alutgamage, Jayantha Katagoda, Pavitra Vanyarachi, Sanjeev Edirimanna, Professor Ranjit Bandara, D.V. Chanaka, Major Pradeep Undugoda and Nalaka Bandara Kotegoda. The committee also comprises opposition MPs Eran Vikramaratna, Ashoka Besingha, Harshana Rajakaruna, Vijita Herath and Shanakian Rajaputran Rasamanikam. A heated situation arose in Parliament when the Speaker announced the chairman's name this morning.
Sagara Karyawasam will chair the Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government and to report to Parliament and submit its proposals and recommendations in this regard. It is like asking a thief who stole the money, appoint an opposition MP. We have nominated someone. That is why the standing orders state the Committee on Public Finance should be chaired by the opposition. When a government MP is appointed, we won't know about the bankruptcy till it's too late. I was in the Committee on Public Finance at the time and I informed Parliament of the country's financial situation. You cannot determine the level of bankruptcy by merely being in the committee. It is regrettable that an experienced politician is making such a foolish statement. All governments are responsible for the bankruptcy, not just one or two. When the Easter tax happened, they appointed their own MPs to the Parliament Select Committee. One of the main reasons for the country's bankruptcy is the tax concession of 600 to 700 billion rupees. If the faction that supported this disaster is appointed to chair the committee that is looking into factors that led to this disaster, I am making a request to appoint a faction that did not support the proposal to provide tax concessions. He has forgotten that the person who advised Gotabaya Rajapaksa to provide tax concession is now his financial advisor. We were not involved in any manner in the move to provide 600 to 700 billion rupees tax concession to the rich people that supported his election campaign. The Select Committee should be chaired by someone who did not support the tax concessions. This is a false argument because although you accept it, no economist accepts it. Nonsense said that tuition classes won't work here. That is what led to the country's bankruptcy. Now you are shamelessly making ridiculous statements. They were in power from 2015 to 2019. The economic growth rate collapsed to 2.1%. They obtained loans amounting to $14.5 billion. They all have dirt in their coffers. This is not something done by one person. At a time the country is facing an economic crisis, although we invite the opposition, we see them trying to implement their own political agenda at times. They make statements against reducing taxes and increasing taxes. They have no aim. When appointing a chairman, we have only nominated the names and they made the appointment. If it is like asking a thief who stole the money, it will be the same no matter who is appointed.
Leader of the Jathika Jana Balawege, Parliamentarian Anura Kumara Disanayaka, made a statement in Parliament today explaining the current political situation in the country.
While the thieves who looted public funds are roaming free, the people of this country are made to pay for their crimes. Many of these criminals are roaming free as elites in this country. And we can even find former presidents, former ministers, and even top-level bureaucrats among these criminals. If the law of this country is weak, how come a person who stole 8 coconuts is thrown in jail? How can a constable or Grama Sevaka who solicited a minor bribe be charged and punished for their crimes? The issue here is not the law. We have enough laws to nab these thieves. But then these laws are only being implemented against small-scale criminals. The big fish are always evading the law with the help of politicians. This is a criminal ring. And in this ring, Honorable Deputy Speaker, you can even find individuals who are in positions that are are supposed to uphold the law. There are several owners of media organizations in this criminal ring. They are all in this together. Once upon a time, a parliamentarian who is sitting in this parliament was summoned to the Bribery Commission. He was summoned to the Bribery Commission for an explanation on how he earned 400 million rupees. Did he go? No. His excuse was that he was bitten by a snake. Where have we gone wrong here? Was there an issue with the law here? Or was it an issue with the snake who bit him? This is how they use political pressure to hide from the law. The chief government whip of this country is a person who is still on a 4-year suspended sentence. This person was found guilty of a crime in the High Court of this country and was ordered to pay 25 million as a fine and to pay another 2 million as compensation to the aggrieved party. So is this really an issue with the law? In 2019, these people went to the general public asking for a mandate to punish Ranil Wickremesinghe for the central bank bond scam. The Justice Minister of this country clearly said that a bond scam took place in this country and that Ranil Wickremesinghe was a part of it. I have his statement with me now. But today, this same person who made this accusation is the Justice Minister of this country, and the accused in the bond scam is the President of this country. Also, I would like to know whether they will bring down Arjun Mahendran back to the country if this law is passed. The people who imported a substandard shipment of fertilizer are representing this parliament today. We had to return this fertilizer stock, but the Treasury had to pay for it. This has become a safe house for criminals in this country. Then the Justice Minister informed this parliament that a person solicited a bribe of $250 million when claiming compensation for the damages caused by the ship that went up in flames within our territorial waters. A person who was caught red-handed when he tried to smuggle gold into the country is sitting in this parliament today. A gold smuggler is sitting right next to me. In this parliament, we have people who own distilleries. They are evading taxes. Major businessmen of this country have failed to pay back the loans that they have taken and are using political influence. Then there was a mansion in Malwana. The deed of this mansion was under the name of Thirikumar Nadeshan. It was confirmed that this mansion is owned by Basil Rajapaksa. A case was filed under the Money Laundering Act at the Gampa High Court by the Attorney General. The prosecution then informed court that they will not lead any evidence. Just like that, this case got tossed out. Can you remember how the former government punished police officer Shani for hunting down criminals? He was put behind bars for 2 to 3 years and they even tried to murder him in prison. If these circumstances are such, how can we assure protection for these officials who implement the law? While politicians became richer every day, the country became poorer and was finally left bankrupt. Both parties who were involved in the Malwana mansion case are saying that the land is not theirs. So then I made a proposal to the cabinet to allow the Justice Ministry to acquire this land, and the process to acquire this land has been delayed a bit, but it is still ongoing. Unfortunately, during the Aragalaya, people without knowing that the government was acquiring this had gone and set ablaze to part of this mansion.
This debate took place in Parliament during the debate on the anti-corruption bill. Joining the debate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa rejected the invitation extended by the President recently.
The President is asking us to unite for the nation. I would like to ask him, is he asking us to unite to nab the thieves or save the thieves? He is saying that he will even help me become President and he will protect my position as the opposition leader. I know how he banded together with Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2019 and helped me become president. I do not need that kind of help. I believe that where we should go and where we will end up should not be decided by way of political deals. I would like to present a statement made by a certain individual for 35 seconds. Everyone listen to this.
One person had turned most of the countries. May it be Singapore, it was Lee Kuan Yew. May it be Malaysia, it is Mahathir Mohamad. If you look at South Korea, it is General Park. I think Sri Lanka will be turned around by Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He is the next Lee Kuan Yew for this country.
Back in the day, they compared Gotabaya Rajapaksa to Lee Kuan Yew and said that he is going to develop the country. Today, our local Lee Kuan Yew has bankrupted the nation, destroyed the country, and this is an attempt to cover up the mistakes that they made.
November 2021, the Sri Lankan government rejected a consignment of organic fertilizer from a Chinese fertilizer company, citing quality issues, a claim the firm, the Chinese company, disputed and demanded third-party tests.
Thereafter, the government paid $6.9 billion to the Chinese fertilizer company.
Now, meanwhile, today, the Minister of Agriculture, speaking in Parliament, said that a committee led by a retired judge will be appointed to explore the possibility into recovering the losses incurred from this controversial fertilizer transaction.
However, the former Minister of Agriculture, responding to this, stated that there is a story behind this controversial fertilizer transaction involving the then State Minister of Agriculture.
With the sudden decision taken by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to ban chemical fertilizer on the 5th of August 2021, the Cabinet approved a proposal to purchase organic fertilizer from Qingdao Seaweed Biotech Group, a Chinese company specializing in seaweed-based fertilizer, at a cost of $63.9 million. During this time, Mahindananda Alutkamage was acting in the capacity of the Agriculture Minister, and State Minister Sashindra Rajapaksha was the State Minister of Agriculture. In September 2021, the National Plant Quarantine Service of Sri Lanka rejected this consignment of organic fertilizer from China's Qingdao Seaweed Biotech Group Co. Limited, citing that the cargo has implications for the biosecurity of the country and that it cannot be accepted. A decision which triggered an angry rebuttal between the two parties involved. And as all this unfolds on shore, the ship remained in Sri Lanka's waters expecting some acceptance. The Sri Lankan authorities were firm on the decision they took, and eventually the ship had nothing left to do but to leave Sri Lankan waters. Qingdao Seaweed then demanded $6.9 million as compensation from the Sri Lankan government for the loss they suffered following the controversy. Thereafter, the government paid $6.9 million to the Chinese fertilizer company without receiving a drop of fertilizer, and especially at a time where the country was undergoing its worst economic crisis. Several criticisms were levelled for importing a consignment of fertilizer without obtaining prior approval. The Auditor General prepared a report on this issue, and the Leader of the Opposition raised concerns in Parliament on this report recently. The Minister of Agriculture responded to these concerns today in Parliament.
Auditor General has recommended to take actions against those who are responsible for the procurement of 96,000 metric tons of organic fertilizer from a Chinese company, and to take action against those involved for not recovering these losses before the performance bond expires, or for not taking actions to extend the time for these bonds and for the lapses when paying the advance payment. As the Agriculture Ministry, we have now taken steps to appoint a committee to look into this and to bring forward the ones who are involved. For this purpose, we have officially written a letter to the Justice Minister to name a retired judge to chair this committee. This was not my subject matter. It was designated to a State Minister through a gazette. Therefore, even though I was the subject minister, I do not hold any responsibility to give any explanation on this. We had a bond of $5 million when importing this consignment of fertilizer, but after the controversy, the Chinese company filed a case in the Commercial High Court, and the Attorney General then advised us to release this bond. But now this company has agreed to supply fertilizer once again. Countries like the USA and Germany are buying fertilizer from this company. There is a backstory behind this, but time does not permit me to reveal it today. As the subject minister, I went and lodged a complaint with the CID when there was an allegation in regard to importation of nano fertilizer. I am also in the stance that we need to investigate this.
The entry of several new suppliers to Sri Lanka's fuel market was also discussed in Parliament today.
There are three foreign players in the distribution of petroleum. Apparently there was a performance bond that they had to undertake. Is that correct? Is there a performance bond?
No, there is no performance bond. Once they are given an award, there are conditions that they need to fulfill. So they have two companies have already signed the agreements. Once the companies have signed the agreements, they need to go to the BOI, then do the company work there at the BOI. Once the approval process is given through the BOI, then they can start the process here.
So it's given to to those foreign companies without any kind of performance bond or undertaking. Plus, there is an issue about their retransferring their funds. Earlier there was an agreement that they cannot change their funds into dollars for a period of time. Apparently there is some change in that condition subsequently.
So there are conditions, I think explained this in Parliament last time as well. The condition that was changed was with the consultation of the central bank. Earlier condition, Honourable Speaker, was that the funds that are being brought into Sri Lanka should be remaining as rupees in account for a period of 9 months and then transferred into foreign currency after the 9-month period. But the central bank recently suggested that the money that is recovered from the sale of fuel as rupees should be converted immediately into dollars and be kept in account for the next 12 months. So it's only the conversion of rupees into dollars will be allowed immediately, but the repatriation of funds will still remain for 12 months. Honourable Speaker, we will table all the relevant agreements into the Parliament because we are still awaiting on their part of the agreement to be fulfilled. Because once the agreement is signed, they get 60 days time to go through the BOI. Then after that only we award the licenses. So once the licenses are awarded, we will table all the agreements in Parliament. That's when they start performing. So licenses are still not awarded to anyone until they fulfill the conditions on the agreement.
A group of parliamentarians have written a letter to the Secretary of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association regarding certain actions of the Speaker of the Sri Lankan Parliament.
The letter states that a series of situations indicative of sustained bias and partisanship culminated in the deeply disturbing actions of the Speaker on the occasion of the debate in Parliament on Saturday the 1st of July on the government's proposals in respect of domestic debt restructuring. At a meeting of the Parliamentary Business Committee consisting of party leaders held on the preceding day, it was decided that the debate would commence at 9 a.m. on the following day and that the vote would be taken at 7:30 p.m, subject to the time being extended if the list of speakers on the published list submitted by the government and opposition whips had not been exhausted at the time. The letter went on to note that the Speaker, at the allotted hour, abruptly brought the proceedings to an end and called for the vote to be taken, dismissing in cavalier fashion vehement protests by the leader of the opposition and other members of the House that the letter and spirit of the agreement arrived at the previous day was being flagrantly violated. According to the letter, regrettably their pleas fell upon deaf ears. In the letter, the parliamentarians further say, quote, "We look upon this lapse very much in line with similar arbitrary and prejudiced decisions made by the Speaker consistently in recent months as a grave infringement of the legitimate rights and privileges of the opposition in Parliament." Unquote. The parliamentarians add, quote, "It is our hope and expectation that you will use your good offices in an appropriate manner to do all you can to ensure the survival and hopefully the further strengthening of sound parliamentary traditions which, up to now, have been a source of amply deserved pride to all of us." Unquote.
Transparency International Sri Lanka has condemned the anti-democratic private members bill presented to Parliament by SLPP MP Jayantha Katagoda to reconvene the dissolved local government institutes for a designated time period. The TISL believes that this move would be a heavy blow to the people's sovereignty enshrined in the Constitution. It says in a statement, quote, "Local government members are the grassroots level public representatives. Regular elections are essential for the people's mandate to be reflected in the local government authorities. In addition, this amendment sets a bad precedent as it creates a risk of abusing the legal framework to prevent holding timely elections, including national elections." Unquote. It adds that this can lead to the people losing faith in the entire democratic system in the country, with negative implications to the rule of law as well. TISL emphasizes that any attempts to pass this amendment must be roundly defeated and calls on all citizens to stand up for their voting rights by opposing this move.
Natasha Surya, who was arrested and remanded on allegations of making a controversial statement, was released on bail on Thursday.
Natasha Surya was granted bail when her bail application was taken up for consideration before Colombo High Court Judge Aditya Patabandige on Wednesday. She was released on bail after the Colombo High Court notified the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court of the decision through a motion on Thursday.
who lost benefits accorded to them under the Samurdhi program with the introduction of the new Aswasuma program continued to protest against the move. Those who lost these benefits point out that they have even lost their disability benefits.
Residents of 45 Gram Nilladari divisions in Madirigiriya Polonnaruwa staged a protest, highlighting the situation that they are facing as a result of losing these benefits. The protest began at the Madirigiriya town and they later marched to the divisional secretariat.
Show us the person who came to check on the Aswasuma program. He was standing and I asked him why he is taking pictures. He said that we were asked to take pictures and send it over. What kind of wealth did you see in those pictures? I have a disabled child. I left him at home and I locked him inside.
I got Samurdhi for about 10 years. Now it has been cut. I have wounds on both of my legs and they don't heal. I can't walk. I couldn't walk since I was a child. Now I don't get the Samurdhi as well. I live with that money.
Samurdhi benefits of about 50 people in our division has been slashed. When these people lose this money, they will die of starvation. We don't want Aswasuma. Give us a Samurdhi benefit.
There are people who cultivate on 10 to 15 acres of paddy fields. There are those who own buses. There are others who own vehicles. But the Samurdhi benefit has been cut for the people who don't even have a bicycle. The allowance given to kidney patients has also been slashed.
The police intervened and allowed several representatives to meet the assistant divisional secretary.
What we did was upload that information into the system. They have looked at the income and expenses and sent this list. All that we did was upload this information into the system. The system fixed the list and sent it here.
The group held discussions for about half an hour and the protesters later dispersed. Appeals are being accepted with regard to the Aswasuma Welfare Benefit Scheme at present. This is a group that arrived at the Hambantota Divisional Secretariat on Thursday. People also gathered at the Mallavapitiya Divisional Secretariat in Kurunagala on Thursday.
අපිට මොකුත්ම නැහැ මහත්ය කුලී වැඩ රටේ ඉන්න අයටත් තියෙනවා මත අභියාචනයක් දෙන්න තමයි ආවේ දැන් කියනවා ඒ අභියාචනත් බාර ගන්න බෑ කියලා
මගේ සමෘද්ධිය කපලා තියෙන්නේ මම බයිපාස් එකක් කරලා ඉන්නේ මට වැඩක් කරන්න බෑ බෙහෙත් වලට මට මාසෙකට 12000ක් විතර යනවා.
Some of the trade unions explained the current situation at a media briefing on Thursday.
A letter was sent on the 4th of July stating that the Aswasuma Welfare Benefit Scheme was to be implemented from the 1st of July and to suspend the payment of Samurdhi Welfare Benefit that were given so far. The government cannot pay the Aswasuma Welfare Benefit from the 1st of July. The government messed it up, so we requested the government to refrain from delaying the Samurdhi Benefit payment and to make the payments for the month of July from the first week. This letter makes it clear that the Samurdhi benefit will not be paid for the month of July and the provisions were not released for the month of July. Therefore, the welfare payments had to be stopped.
News first with the people.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka on Thursday requested the banking and financial sector to give the public the benefit of the reduction of the policy interest rates by a considerable amount.
During the monetary policy review on Thursday evening, the governor of the central bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, has said if banks and financial institutions do not take the measure voluntarily, it will have to be monitored closely.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka at its meeting held on the 5th of July 2023 decided to reduce the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the central bank by 200 basis points to 11% and 12% respectively. The board arrived at this decision following a careful analysis of the current and expected developments, including the faster than envisaged disinflation process and benign inflation expectations in the domestic economy, with the aim of enabling the economy to reach its potential and stabilize placing inflation at mid-single digit levels in the medium term while easing pressures in the financial markets. The board expects that with this reduction of policy interest rates by 200 basis points and the reduction of policy interest rates by 250 basis points in early June 2023, along with the significant reduction of risk premium on government securities witnessed recently, the market interest rates, particularly lending rates, will adjust downwards adequately and swiftly.
Now what we can expect going forward is that the interest rate structure will be back to normal with benchmark rates moving closer to policy rates, and others will move in line with risk premiums attached to each lending and deposit rates. That's what we would expect. As mentioned already, if that normalization would not happen soon, we would hope that it will happen soon. That will give more benefits to the economy and more credit to the economy. So we do not hesitate to have some administrative measures and targets to move that path in line with the normal interest rate structure.
Journalists question as to what measures will be taken if the benefit of the reduction of policy interest rates is not given to the people.
If it is not reduced from within the banking system, banks will initially be given an opportunity. If it doesn't happen, we will monitor it closely.
Journalists also inquired into the estimated loss to the EPF through the domestic debt optimization process.
කපාදුවක් වෙනවා කියලා මේ නිශාන්ත මෙල් නැමැත්තෙක් ප්‍රකාශ කළා තිබ්බා. ඒ ප්‍රකාශය පදනම් වෙලා විපක්ෂ නායකතුමත් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ප්‍රකාශ කළා. අද මම හිතන්නේ සියලුම මාධ්‍යවල වගේ පළ වෙලා තිබුණා.
That assessment is wrong and not a representation of the reality. The argument was that the yield of the EPF Treasury bond portfolio is 13.5 at present. The current average yield is 11.5%. If the yield is to be 13.5% for 15 years, inflation should remain at 15 to 18% till 2038. If you make an assumption based on that, you can increase it further. Debt will not be sustainable. Under that assumption, debt will have to be restructured again in a few years. That assumption was made without a proper understanding or with an understanding to mislead the people. They have looked at the portfolio that has rough calculations. According to its current projections, a 4% opportunity loss. If it goes to the tax, the loss is 21%. The 100 will reduce to 79. The choices are between reducing it to 96 or 79.
The governor of the central bank spoke about restructuring of Sri Lanka's debt and the ongoing negotiations.
So this is a process of negotiations. So in that negotiation, obviously, there are two choices. You are in a process of negotiation. You can hold on to a position or will not do anything and can drag the process. Like someone suggested, why didn't we ask 50% haircut from external creditors? Can you still ask for that? And can drag the process for several years. Or whether we want to finalize, come to a deal soon, then we also will have to compromise the position. Not we, obviously, Minister of Finance is a counterpart from our behalf. But our interest in that negotiation is to, while understanding there has to be a compromise, there has to be a domestic contribution, how best we can optimize the contribution while protecting the interest of the central bank in terms of, as I said, securing financial stability, minimizing impact on central bank balance sheet. Third, minimizing the impact on the EPF as a custodian EPF. On those intentions, we also involved in the negotiation with the Minister of Finance. We were able to come to the most possible and best deal that one can achieve and come to a compromise and come to a situation where we can move forward.
The governor also spoke about the contributors to the Employees' Provident Fund.
Distribute. In the EPF law, all the members, it is mandatory for the employees and employers to make the contribution. There's no choice. Even the investments, central bank, EPF, Board is a custodian. Even making investment in the law, there's no say for the members to make that decision. I would imagine if would be much more complicated system. Even the distributing the returns also is out of the income. So if I am to ask, so if on Board to ask a choice, I think I would like to ask the choice. If there's, at least, say, morally or kind of in principle, members' choice, members' consent. The question I would ask, whether you would want to pay taxes or whether you would make a contribution, these two options. If this is not available option, then let not contribute making anything. And are you willing to take a risk of not getting anything for the investment you have made in the government, 97% of investment. That's also not their choice, no. It is available choice that on behalf of the members, EPF has made. So that this is also a question need to be asked. Not that only those two. That's the monetary board will have to make a choice between those two that's given by the government. But members, if there's a choice, I think we need to ask that you would like whether you would take the risk of government not being able to service your interests and the capital. It's also another choice.
Fitch Ratings has downgraded Sri Lanka's long-term local currency issuer default rating to C from CC. The issue ratings on local currency bonds have also been downgraded to C from CC. The long-term foreign currency, IDR, has been affirmed at RD and the country's ceiling at B-. The rating agency's statement said, quote, "In Fitch's view, the proposed domestic debt optimization will qualify as a distressed debt exchange under this criteria, as it entails a material reduction in terms and is needed to avoid a traditional payment default."
Ambassador of Thailand to Sri Lanka said the Thailand government has made no decision to repatriate any elephant such as Vijay Raja or Kandula Raja that was gifted to Sri Lanka.
The ambassador of Thailand to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Poj Hanpol, visited the temple of the tooth relic in Kandy today. The ambassador, along with a team of diplomats, paid a visit to the elephants of the temple of the tooth.
Oozing from that swollen gland.
The positive thing that came out of Muthu Raja being transferred to Thailand is greater awareness, sustained awareness of rallying, caring of the elephant, not only for the two of Thai Tusker Delatia, from elephant in Thailand. That's why we have a doctor of it here. In the future, in the round, we have already cooperated in other matters. Along the way, we have been able to identify the area of cooperation between Thailand and Sri Lanka.
The Devanna Nilame of Kandy, Pradeep Nilangadala, accompanied the group of diplomats.
Sri Lanka's second street library was inaugurated on Wednesday as a gift to the people of Kandy on behalf of the people of Pakistan to further enhance the timeless friendship between the two countries.
The ribbon-cutting ceremony was jointly done by His Excellency the High Commissioner of Pakistan to Sri Lanka, Major General Umar Farooq, and the Commissioner of the Kandy Municipal Council, followed by a signing of handover document of the library administration to the Kandy municipality for maintenance, security and upkeep of the property and books. The building and books were donated by the government of Pakistan under the concept of a street library. This library has a different concept compared to traditional libraries and will operate on the concept of take a book, leave a book.
In some interesting news overseas, Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg has said that the company's newly launched Threads app aims to outrival Twitter.
Experts say Threads could attract Twitter users unhappy with recent changes to the platform. Threads, which is not launching in the European Union for now, allows users to post up to 500 characters and has many features similar to Twitter. Zuckerberg said the app passed 5 million sign-ups in the first 4 hours. Earlier he said that keeping the platform friendly will ultimately be the key to its success. But Musk responded, quote, "It is indefinitely preferable to be attacked by strangers on Twitter than indulge in false happiness of hide the pain Instagram," unquote. When asked on Threads whether the app will be bigger than Twitter, Zuckerberg said it'll take some time, but I think there should be a public conversations app with 1 billion plus people on it. He went on to say, quote unquote, "Twitter has the opportunity to do this but hasn't nailed it. Hopefully we will." Competitors have criticized the amount of data the app might use. This may include health, financial and browsing data linked to users' identities, according to the Apple App Store. Threads is now available to download in over 100 countries, including the UK, but not yet in the EU because of regulatory concerns.
You can now follow newsfirst.lk on Meta's latest app, Threads.
And now taking a look at the World Cup qualifier. Netherlands qualified for the ODI World Cup in India later this year after beating Scotland in Bulletin by 6 wickets a short while ago. The Dutch sealed qualification with a stunning win spearheaded by past lead who smashed an unbeaten 130 runs off 95 balls to take the team to the 50 overs World Cup for the first time since 2011.
Scotland were inserted into bat and scored 277 thanks to a century by Brandon McMullen, leaving the Dutch requiring 278 in 44 overs to qualify. While the Dutch appeared on track for victory through the chase, reaching the target within that threshold looked unlikely. However, needing 45 of the last 4 overs, Talisman De Lead, instrumental to the chase, shot through the gears in an astonishing onslaught, smashing 4 of the 5 sixers that Netherlands hit off the next 2 overs. Those overs saw 42 runs scored, and all of a sudden the qualification that looked a distant dream was suddenly a foregone conclusion. The Netherlands are the only associate side to qualify for the World Cup since the tournament shrunk to include just 10 teams.
Go back in time and list 6. As unlikely as it was, they got there and won on the super over. I'll get to 190.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Good night.